When you go to see live theater, there's always a sense of anticipation. You enter the theater, take your seat, and when the curtain goes up, it's showtime.
What you don't see is the enormous amount of work that has gone into bringing a production to life. Not just the rehearsals by the cast, but all the other tasks performed by workers you never see and whose names you never hear. To find out just what happens behind the scenes, we went to Maine State Music Theater in Brunswick and spent an afternoon there, never once going near the stage itself. Anyone who's driven by the Maine State Music Theater building off Main Street probably thought, oh, that's where the offices are. Well, yes, but it's also where the look of every single show is created. Let's begin with the sets. Designing and building them takes the better part of a year.
Start to finish, it really is Thanksgiving to right now. So it's a long process.
The crew builds the sets in this big hangar-like area, and it needs that space. This is, as you said, a 900-plus pound set.
Yes.
For a scene in Tootsie.
It is. This whole piece, if you picture it standing straight up, is the front of a Broadway theater. And it's almost the size of the front of a Broadway theater.
There are no shortcuts, just an emphasis on quality.
I like everything we do to have a metal frame. One of my biggest pet peeves is when I go see a show and they go through a door and the whole set wiggles. I don't like to see that. So we frame everything in metal.
Once the sets are built, they're turned over to the painting crew, which makes them shine.
I was saying fake houses for fake people, but it's all real. Everything on stage is real, it's magic.
The painters' clothes and boots reflect how much paint they go through, about 12 gallons per show. Next stop, the prop shop, which creates all the stuff that goes on stage. Props, furniture, decorations, everything.
Desks, things that go on the desks, things that you're decorating your garden with. We have our team over here building a fountain. Anything and everything that isn't nailed to the ground, that's something that we figure out how to do here.
Changing sets from one production to the next is a major undertaking. What took months to design and build goes up and down in less than 48 hours, warp speed in the theatrical world. Maine State Music Theater has to do nearly everything at a pace not seen on Broadway. And one more stop behind the scenes with costume director Madison Queen.
I have the best job in the world. Yeah, hands down.
This just might be the biggest clothes closet in Maine. 5,000 square feet filled to the ceiling with costumes for 52 different shows. And with new costumes being made every summer. You don't really even know yourself how many costumes you have in here?
I've not done the math, so I really need to count how many costumes can fit on a rack and how many racks I have in here, because I know it's in the tens of thousands.
Maine State Music Theater does a nice business renting many of these costumes to other theater companies. Yeah. If you get stuck, we'll call EMTs.
I think I'm stuck.
With the jaws of life, we'll extricate you.
We play a whole lot of Marco Polo in here.
Wherever they go, the purpose is the same. Costumes help make the character.
Because the character who is wearing this hat is so much different than the character who wears this hat.
As you can see, a lot of people are working behind the scenes, and they, along with cast members, need housing for the summer, which is a major challenge. To address it, Maine State Music Theater has bought several buildings with apartments in Brunswick and decorated them with musical notes.
We've been working on the problem ever since I got here. Back then we could only house 10 people in our own beds. Now we can house 120 in our own beds, but we have 216 employees in the summer.
There is so much that goes into the making of a show, and none of it comes cheap.
At Maine State Music Theater, we have advanced over the years to where we're spending about $1.5 million per production to create each show.
$1.5 million per production.
Yep.
To create the look of the show.
Yeah, when you combine everything, it is crazy expensive nowadays.
More exciting, nowhere more delicious.
Actors go out on stage and get the applause. But the behind-the-scenes workers are the backbone of musical theater. Without them, you'd be seeing actors in street clothes performing on a bare stage. And what fun would that be?
Bravo, bravo.
So you might be wondering, for instance, when they need a man suit, why don't they just go to the store and buy one rather than making their own? Well, the performers have to be able to dance in them, so you can't just take something off the rack. Spandex is the costume creator's best friend, I was told, when making those kinds of costumes.
I love that, and I also love that you and Kirk were able to make it out of the costume room because that place is just filled.
The space between the rows of costumes, literally that wide.
So small, and I'm just so glad that we're giving some love to these people because truly, these shows, they would not be what they are without those people.
More than 200 employees in the summer at Maine State Music Theater. Tootsie is playing there now. It'll be there through Saturday, followed by Footloose and West Side Story.
Ooh, that's a good lineup.